Hey guys, enter the stars. And everything in nature is not as it seems. We've debated from time to time the origin of some plants, reptiles, birds, butterflies, planets, stars. And the common theme is, if God created it, how can it be bad? But I'll give you a specific Bible example of a planet that is in fact evil. I do not know who created the planet. Maybe the evil one has the ability to create certain things, or maybe he uses them for evil and then they become evil after God has created them. Or he could have possibly had the power to take over certain parts of God's creation. And this is where we need to be careful. Everything around us is not necessarily good. Now, this is Acts 7:43, and in it, it describes the Remphan. He describes the star of the god Remphan, related to Molech, Molech being the owl. And this particular star of this god is actually mentioned in Wikipedia. And what it shows here is that the King James Version of the Bible rendering of the Greek word variously appearing in Acts 7 verse 43 as pupa and all these variations of the word. It is part of a quotation from Amos 5, the reading Remphan. And when you get down to the root of it, it actually describes it being the planet Saturn. Now, this is what blows me away about this. Saturn has a hexagon at its pole, yet the Bible mentions this hexagon as being the star that they worship of this God. Now, as many of you know, I used this logo for some time for this channel, this particular picture, as I was awakening to truth and trying to understand what all this means. Also, this hexagram, which also could be seen as a foreshortened cube, is indicative of the bees and the honeycomb and all the different references that the Queen of England uses to describe the hive. Okay, we've covered the hive and bees. Do a search on enter the 5T4RZ and bees. A lot of information on that. But all relates back to the worship of this God. Okay? Now, as we awaken to truth and start to understand things, we all go on this journey together. And as God reveals things, we start to understand. I didn't know the scripture existed about the Remphan and the God and the star of it and Molech. Now it is clear. This is evil. And the reason why it is evil is because the Bible tells us it's evil. Now, what blows me away is how these people knew that this existed many millennia before telescopes could ever see this. And there's only one way, and that is Satan, who is the ruler of the air, who would have told them that this star existed on the pole of Saturn. Now, when you type in the word Remphan star, it is clear. We see the cube within the star, just like we see on the North Pole of Saturn. It is the same cube. And we see that the angles are 6, 60, and 60. Let he who has eyes to see understand the mark of 666. And we have been given those eyes. Why? Because we love truth. We'll continue searching for it. But if you see it here, simple Google search, image search, reveals the Remphan star. And it is the Star of David. Now, we've done a lot of work on the 7337, and in fact the 37 and 73 is the Star of David. And it appears as though, through an amazing synchronicity, that these things are being revealed absolutely through my life, which is kind of an amazing and really cool thing. But then along with it comes a responsibility of correctly conveying this information to you guys. Okay? Now, we see all the various iterations of the Star of David. Okay? And again, this is Remphan star. I did not search Star of David. It is Remphan star, which is directly mentioned in the Bible as being the star of the god Remphan, which is evil, as described here in Acts 7:43. I believe it is also interesting that Acts 7:43 encodes the 7337 cube star matrix. You see the 7 and the 3 in the verse chapter here, which is kind of neat as well. The Bible is a mathematical journey. Everything is mathematical. Now here is where we need to use discernment, okay? Because the word Rapha sounds like Remphan, and we see that the word Rapha is actually repeated several times in the Bible related to the Philistines and giants in the Bible. Now this makes sense. The giants and the fallen angels would worship, in fact, the god Molech, which is what we've been saying all along. Now, interesting thing happens when you type in the word Rapha. It appears in the NIV version of the Bible as showing there was a man from Rapha, and there was a man with 6 fingers and 6 toes. And this is where we have to use discernment, because the Bible versions that we are given today either include or disclude vital information that helps us in our search for truth. So in the NIV version, we get a man from Rapha with 6 fingers and 6 toes. Okay? Descended from Rapha. Now let's look at the same exact verse, 1 Chronicles 26. And if we were to switch over to the King James Version and look at 1 Chronicles 26, now remember, in the NIV version, it said the man was descended from Rapha. When we look at the King James Version of the very same chapter verse, it leaves out the part that he was descended from Rapha. It says he has 6 fingers and 6 toes, but we don't know where he came from. Why is that the case? And this is one example of how we shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket of the King James Version. I've heard many people tell me, only use the King James Version. But when I use only the King James Version, I'm missing vital information. We need to know where this man was descended from to understand his lineage, to understand that he came down through the Nephilim bloodline, the fallen angel bloodline, the very people which the Israelites battled against. This is all very important information. So, what do? We use all the versions. We use the mechanical text. We get down to the root words, and we have to literally reinterpret the Bible, given the eyes that we've been given to see. Anyway, you guys, I thought I'd share that with you. Take care and be safe.